This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Welcome to Season 3 of Truly Independent. I'm Garrett Batty alongside my co-host Darren Smith. Each week, we'll go in-depth with guests, industry experts, and we'll even share our own experiences, all with the goal of demystifying the independent film process. This season, it's all about the script, from the first spark of an idea to a polished final draft, breaking it down for scheduling, budgeting, and ultimately shooting. We'll walk through every step it takes to get from page to production. Welcome to Truly Independent.
Garrett, hello. Happy holidays to you.
Welcome to the show, Darren, and to our listeners. How are you doing today, Darren?
I'm good. I realized I just made a major faux pas, and I dated our podcast by saying happy holidays.
It could be Valentine's. You could be wishing me happy Valentine's Day. Thanks, Darren.
You're
Means
welcome.
a lot.
You're welcome.
Happy Halloween.
Great save. Good job.
I got your back. Yes, but we are recording this. Yeah, we're dating it right now. But that's okay because the content, hopefully, that we talk about is going to be evergreen.
Evergreen. That is the magic word in podcast and blog world. So yes, we're always looking at evergreen topics. And today we got a fun one. Garrett and I were chatting before we hit record on okay, where are we at right now with both of our sides of different projects and everything that we're doing. And this common theme emerged, which was doing stuff earlier than most people do.
Beginning with the end in mind.
Beginning with the end in mind. That's a better way of phrasing it. That feels very Stephen Covey. Is that a Stephen Coveyism? Is that one of his seven?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure I did not just invent something like that. But begin with the end. We want to keep distribution in mind during pre-production.
Yeah. And that came up because I've had half a dozen conversations with distributors over the last 2 to 3 weeks, and we aren't filming for another 4 months. So a lot of people would be like, wait, you're doing what now? And it's been interesting to say the least. So we can talk about how those conversations are happening, what the conversations are like right now, being pre having something to show them, because we haven't filmed a single frame of footage. And so it feels like, well, why would you do that this early? And we can talk about why, but that came up, and then it opened up into a bunch of other things that maybe we do in a truly independent mindset. We're doing a lot earlier than the typical indie film model.
Yes. Okay. But Darren, before we get into that, I'm gonna have a pop quiz for you. Pop this question to you because I want your take on it.
Okay.
And maybe we can work this into our episode as far as doing things earlier than perhaps we anticipate. As I've been raising money for a film called The Pearl, which is a faith-based spy comedy, right? Something we haven't seen. And we had our first investor that came in.
Hey.
And he's come in with $25,000. Now the budget is around $2 million, or I think we can do it for 1.5 if we need to. My question is, as an independent filmmaker, you get that first investor, and they're on board with the project. They know that we're in very early development. They're totally on board. And there are a couple of things that I need to do, which is some pretty serious, not serious, but script rewrites. I need to do some script polishing. And I also need to do a sizzle for the movie that I feel like could be used to raise additional funds. So my question to you and to you, the listeners, as an independent filmmaker, what do you do with that kind of initial investment? Where do you spend, Darren? Where should we spend? If I'm coming to you as a producer, do I pay somebody to rewrite the script? Do I do the sizzle for $25K and call it good? If we pay somebody to rewrite the script, then we probably can't afford to do the sizzle well enough.
It's kind of either or.
Yeah.
This is a good pop question. Okay. My first gut check is I don't actually like to spend any money until I've got at least 10%, because of that dilemma of, do I do this or this?
Yeah.
So my initial response would be keep going and use that $25K as a catalyst to go get the 200 or 250 that you're going to need to do all this kind of development and sizzle and early work. So it may be that you back into the number and go, okay, a sizzle is going to cost this much, a rewrite is going to cost this much, a couple other things are going to cost this much, and I'd like to be, paid a little bit for my time because I'm working full time on this. So
Yeah.
all that together is $238,000. Okay, great. That's our development money, and it's about 10% of the movie. I'd start there and then be pitching people on, hey, we've got our first money in. So you're not first money in. That takes a little bit of the edge off in the conversation, and then you use that to catalyze as a catalyst to go and get the rest.
Okay, that's good. That's advice from a seasoned pro. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've got a meeting this afternoon to discuss the actions we're going to take, the immediate actions, because we want to get this movie into pre-production. We feel like we're right on the cusp of having some significant donors and investors come in.
Yeah.
But based on what they've asked for, we're looking at doing a sizzle
Yeah.
for
My,
that initial funds.
my second part of that answer then would be, where's the leverage? So do you get more leverage from doing a rewrite, or do you get more leverage from doing a sizzle, or do you get more leverage from locking in some actors? Like, there's a plenty of ways you could spend 25K, 50K, 100K, whatever it is that you end up with in the next
Yeah.
week or so. So then it's about, okay, where can we use that strategically where it helps us get more of whatever else we need, whether it's more investment, probably a sizzle. If it's more key creative people, you probably want the script to be dialed in so that you can send that off and get your cinematographer lined up, your actors, your key creative people. And so it depends on what's the immediate outcome that you're looking for, and then which one gives you the most leverage to get that thing.
Yeah, that's all very helpful. Here's one of the things that I think is a determining factor with in order to get this decision is what is going to solve your next problem. And what we found is with this script, with this script and the concept and everything like that, the way that we explain this movie, oftentimes questions come up. Wait, will it work? Will it work? So to spend more time on the script, we think would be perhaps diminishing returns, and almost to do a proof of concept would result in hopefully an answer that we know it will work and an investor knows it will work.
Yeah.
I've never had a film funded, including the ones that we've done, Darren, Faith of Angels, off of a script, but I've had them funded off of the teasers that we've done.
Yeah.
Carpenter, Faith of Angels, the scripts were all there, and honestly, it made people a little bit cautious about like, oh, this is big. Should we do this?
Yeah.
But the minute we put together a teaser, they're like, oh, okay, this is going to work. I'm on board. Please take my money.
And I think the reason why that is that investors, even seasoned film investors, don't necessarily know how to read a script and turn it into a movie in their mind, budget wise, scope wise, creative wise. Like, that's just a really hard thing to do, to read a document and go, oh, I get what the movie's going to be. That's where writers, directors, producers are really valuable, because I can do that. You can do that. We can do that.
It'd be just like me trying to look at a blueprint and saying, oh, this is going to be an amazing home.
Yeah.
Or my wife, who went to school in that, can look at that and go, this is gorgeous. And I look at it and say, where's the home theater? Is there a home theater in here? That's all I'm looking for.
Right. So helping them, giving them an easier thing to digest, so to speak, is very helpful and gets you more of that thing easier, because they go, oh, I get it. I get what you're trying to do here. And I think that was the same with Brotherhood and what Ross has been doing the last 2 months of just showing people what he had. Instead of sending out the script to 100 people, he invited 100 people to come hear it performed live. And they went, oh, I get it. I can see it play scene by scene. I know what the characters look like. I know what that moment looks like and feels like. The emotion's there. And they go, yes, I'm in. So I think that's right. How do you get a sizzle, or at least a couple of shots or a scene put together to where you can say, this is the tone, this is the heart, this is the look and feel of it, and this is why we need this amount of money to go make it.
Yeah. It's still, and 25K is still a very small amount of money to do a full sizzle. So I think that we will be very in what we write, and maybe this segues into now what we're doing is start with the end in mind, saying, hey, this sizzle that we have to create is for a particular purpose. We're going to limit our vision for it to fit that purpose.
Yeah. In the sense, you're making part of the movie before you're funded. So you're
Correct.
doing it early, and that is what we're talking about today. So that's great. I'm excited to see the sizzle because I've been a fan of this project since I first read it 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yeah, when we came off of Carpenter, I think is, or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, it's been a minute.
it's been a year or two, however long it's
Yeah.
been. And I'm very excited for this one. Yeah.
So you've been having some discussions with potential distributors long before your movie's ever been made.
Yeah.
You're 4 months out of production, and but what a great mindset to be in. So do we segue into that now to say
Yeah, I think so.
where are you on that as far as why are you having discussions this early?
Yeah. Here's what we already did is before I even started pitching Producer Fund 1, I went and lined up a distribution partner, like a service partner for all 10 movies of the fund. And so I have that in place. But what that requires is that I bring the P&A or the marketing spend to the table. So they're not going to bring $1 million, $2 million, $5 million to the table to help put the movie out there. They're going to help put it in theaters, the logistics of that, the heavy lift of how do we physically get movies in theaters. But if nobody knows about it, then that's not a good thing to spend money on because you'll have a bunch of empty theaters that you sent money to or spent money to send your movie to. And the
Yeah.
theaters aren't going to be happy because no one's showing up and buying popcorn and soda. And so it's really thinking about, okay, if I'm going to make a movie as a producer, I'm not just making a movie. I've also got to bring some other things to the table. I need to bring distribution to the table and I need to bring the audience to the table. So how am I going to do that? Part of it is starting marketing very early. Like that was our first couple of hires for this movie was marketing team starting day one, November 1st, 6 months, whatever, before the movie's even in production so that we
Yeah.
could start telling people this is coming. And so the next piece was like, okay, if I have the ability to bring the movie to a couple hundred theaters and the people, what if we need more people than that for it to be a profitable endeavor? Well, then we're probably going to need a distributor who could bring something else to the table, whether it's marketing, whether it's dollars, whether it's whatever. Strategically, the way I went about this, because some people are going to ask, well, how are you getting calls and meetings with distributors before you've even shot the movie? Well, let's talk about that. Strategically, I hired a law firm that I love, Ramo Law, and I've known them and I've worked with them for over 10 years. And they have a development person in-house. And so I basically reached out to her. Her name's Tiffany. And I said, hey, Tiff, it's me again. Hi. Hey, guess what? The fund is going. We got our first movie. I'd like some help setting up meetings with distributors. She said, amazing, great. We have some on our client list, so let me connect you. So I'm basically using a law firm almost like an agency and saying, look, we're both repped by the same law firm. That's a very easy bridge to cross to say, oh, you work with Ramo Law, I work with Ramo Law, we can have a 20-minute conversation. Great. So I've met with basically all the distributors in their roster, and some of them are international sales agents, some are theatrical distributors, some do a mix of everything, and they've been really enlightening conversations. So that's the how we got that lined up. I was just strategic and said, who has those relationships? Because if I just cold DM them on LinkedIn or emailed them, they probably wouldn't have gotten back to me. But
Sure.
since it's Tiffany, they're like, oh, yeah, sure. That sounds great. So then we get in the meetings and they're all looking at me like, okay, why are we chatting? Because you're not even in production yet. Like you don't have, what do you have? And I'm like, look, here's the whole framing of the conversation. If I wait until the movie is shot and finished, it's too late because we're looking to release in September or October of next year. We're going to be wrapped in May. That gives us very little time to A, finish the movie, B, have a nice marketing campaign leading up to the release of the movie. So it's an unfair position to put you in to say, hey, we want this movie out in 2 months, 1 month, whatever. And B, for you, it's also really competitive time to look at a movie because if I have a finished movie and I'm going out to the marketplace, all of a sudden it's going to cost more to license it or to get the deal or to distribute it. Like it's going to cost more because there's going to be more awareness at that point. And so I'm actually doing these distributors a favor, thinking about their side of this transaction and saying, look, I'm coming to you early because it benefits both of us, not just me. Yes, I would love to have a distribution deal in place before we go shoot the movie. That's a dream come true, but it can't just
Sure.
be all about me. So I had to frame the entire conversation. And this is why I'm reaching out to you and why it would benefit you to have a look at our movie. Let me send over the materials. So I'm sending over a script, a one pager, and a recording of Ross at one of these events that we did to say, here's
Yeah.
the movie. You can get it in 2 hours if you watch through this thing, or even skim through it in an hour. That's fine too. And
Yeah.
so we've got everyone from international and digital distributors all the way up to like Sony Affirm that's looking at the movie and going, yeah, we'll take a look over the holidays. So
Yeah.
those things are possible, but you have to position the conversation in a way where it's not, I'm here to get what I need regardless of what you need. You have to frame it in what's in it for them.
Yeah, Darren, and I don't think it's amazing. It's great. And it is that core kind of mindset shift of not if you build it, they will come, but saying, let's do this together. And in my experience, there has never been a conversation with a distributor that says, oh, you're here too early.
Yeah.
It's always the opposite. Why didn't you come to me earlier? We could have helped you set this up a little bit so that
Yeah.
our job is easier. So I think you're doing it right, and you're doing it, and it sounds like you're working with the potential distributor and kind of this partnership in mind.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard that over the years. We've had distributors on this show who have said the same thing. I've talked to plenty of distributors over the years who say, yeah, we would love to get in early. And then probably the flip side, if I'm listening to this or watching this, I'm going to probably go, yeah, like you just call up a distributor and you say, I want to talk. Like we're making it maybe sound a little easy. Part of it is that we've done a lot of work getting to the point where we can call and ask for the conversation. So it's not like I have an idea for a movie that I'd like to get distribution for, and then I'll leverage the distribution deal to go to get everything else I need. No, the intro was Darren is a filmmaker. He's done 4 movies over the last 4 years. Here they are. Here's a link to his deck for Producer Fund 1. Their first movie is funded and they're shooting in April and they want to have a conversation with you now. That's a lot of context that takes a lot of time and effort to build up. So I'm not just calling them saying, hey, I want a distribution deal. I'm saying, I
Yeah,
have done all these things and I want to talk to you now rather than 6 months from now.
yeah. Well, if it's like any of the conversations we've had with distributors, then that conversation talks about who's in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so you're addressing that very early on. Are you announcing cast? Are you having those conversations with the distributors? And what influence can the distributor have in the in that?
Yeah.
Say, here's a list of actors that we can sell easily. Are either of these in the movie?
Yeah.
You know that.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna say something fun. I have turned down a distributor already because their mindset was that they came and said, "Well, we don't look at movies until they're done, and we need to know who's going to be in it." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that. I understand that that's the market that you're in and the way that you do business. That is not the approach for this movie. We are casting strategically for the movie, not for the market." And we know the market's there. We imagine that your numbers probably don't show that what we think, and so we're misaligned in the approach. And so I'm gonna, it's great to meet you, but that's not the route we're looking to take. So thanks, and I'm happy to put you on an email list so you can follow along. And if you change your mind in the meantime, but I have a very specific outcome in mind of the type of release that I want to do, and they were very much looking for an international sales licensing, distribution. They weren't concerned at all about theater or theatrical. That was a ding. And then the fact that they were like, well, if it doesn't have actors that we think are bankable, then it's not for us. It's like, then
Yeah.
we're just approaching this in a different way, and so it's not going to work out. And it wasn't a bad thing to like pre-fire them. It was just like,
No,
oh,
not at all.
we're misaligned, and that's okay. And they're very interested in following along. They're now on my email list. They're going to be getting updates every couple of weeks on the movie, but
I would
wasn't
much rather have that conversation with a distributor than
yeah,
the opposite, which I think we get frequently as independent filmmakers is, yeah, we'll take your movie. And then they know that they can't sell it and it sits on the shelf and they've tied it up for a 3-year
yeah,
license deal. And at the end of the first year, you've never heard from them. And you go, come on, what are we doing here? And they say, well, it's hard to sell and it doesn't really fit within our catalog, but we're having good meetings about it. And you just go, you should have told me first.
yeah,
Tell me first that you don't want it.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it's just a professional thing to do, to say, look, here's the approach. And part of that was me doing the work of what is the approach for this thing? And it really looks more like a platform release starting on a few hundred screens in some very strategic cities and then expanding based on demand, not for vanity metrics or because we want to hit a certain number so that it's a loss leader, so it helps digital. It's like there's reasons to do a lot of it, but there's also reasons not to keep putting good money after bad is not something I'm interested in. I'm interested in profitable indie films. And
The things,
yeah.
one of the things I think you've done so well, and I'd be interested to see whatever you're willing to share and reveal on this, is your casting. And you mentioned that in your conversation with a distributor, so we're casting for the movie, not for distribution, which is a bold thing to say.
Yeah.
But
When you say it back, I'm like, whoa, I really said that?
hey, play it back. I don't know what the
That's what I said. I'm casting for the movie, not the market, which is, yeah.
well, and you're saying, you ask yourself as an independent filmmaker, does this actor move the needle for this audience? And I think that there's the market, but there's also the audience.
Yeah.
And as a producer, that your movie is aligned with the audience. And the audience is a section of the market. Distributor might not have access to your audience or to your cast's audience, but you know that your cast has the best access to their own audience.
Yeah.
Right. So is that kind of what you're doing? You're casting for your cast audience.
Yeah, we're really thinking about who's this movie for. And if the movie is for an international distributor, that's one thing. But they're a partner of ours, not a customer of ours, if that makes sense. And we're really
Say
thinking
that
about
again.
they're a partner of ours to reach the audience, not
The cast
not
is.
a customer. No, the distributor.
Yes,
They're a
okay.
partner, not a customer. Like, we're not looking to sell the movie to a distributor. We're looking to partner with the distributor to help us put it in theaters and all of the other downstream ways that you can put a movie out in the world. So when you make these little adjustments to the strategy, it kind of eliminates some of the options, fortunately or unfortunately. And so we're not trying to be that movie that is intended to be or designed to be the most sellable at an international market like Cannes or AFM. But here's what I think is going to be true. The results speak for themselves. And so if we go to theaters and we start at 200 screens and then we expand to 4 or 5, 800 screens and do a few $1 million in theaters, that changes what the movie is. And it kind of doesn't matter if there's no quote unquote bakeable stars there, because now they can just point to, this was a big indie hit in theaters. Do you want
Right.
it? And they don't need the name. They're saying they need names now because that's how they cover their downside. But if
Right.
I, as a producer, cover the downside by doing a really good theatrical run, then I've done the heavy lifting for them. And then I can say, look, here's the movie I told you about. Right.
Right.
The
The
other,
name
yeah, go
the
ahead.
name becomes the movie. The movie becomes the name. So you don't
Exactly.
say, yeah, we don't have such and such star, but it's this movie that everybody's heard about and talking about.
Yeah. So it's really just honing in on who is the buyer. And the buyer is not the distributor, because they're not buying our movie. They're helping us reach the buyers, which is the audience, the people that are going to spend $10 on a movie ticket or, watch it on streaming, or the people that want it for their international audiences. So I think you just have to be extra clear on that and know who the audience is and make sure you're lining up your strategy to reach them in the best way, in a profitable way. Because part of what we're trying to avoid in not selling the movies is capping the upside. So if we had an investor come in and say, well, we'll give you $1.5 million for this movie that cost $1 million, well, we just capped the upside. Like, that's not great for anybody involved. So we're not going to do that. And all of this is the strategy of how we're going to release films through Craftsman Films and Producer Fund One. And that being that specific right now, early on, actually helps do two things. One, it kind of just, you kind of clear out the ones that are not good fits, the partners, potential partners that are not actually the right partner. And that doesn't mean they're not good people. It just means this is not a right fit for this movie right now or this strategy. So great, thanks. I'm glad we chatted, and we'll chat again soon in the future when it is more aligned. But what it also does is it really enrolls the right people, because they go, oh, that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what we want to do. We want a producer to call us 4 months before production to help inform the strategy, maybe inform some of the casting, but we trust the producer because we're partners and it's their job to do the movie. And then we can start on strategy 6, 8, 10 months before the movie comes out, so they can go and talk to other people. Maybe there's international partners. Maybe we're lining up international release theatrically at the same time. Maybe this, because we have time to do it. So what it's done is really pulled in the people that are like, oh my gosh, this is so refreshing. I definitely want producers like this calling me, because it's so much easier than, oh, the movie's already done and it just had a theatrical release that didn't go that well, and now we got to figure out international or digital or whatever. Man, it would have been nice to align all of that 6 months ago with the whole team. It's that we've heard that, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's scary to say no to someone who could give you a version of what you want, like distribution. But I think you also have to keep the end in mind and go, what is it we actually want? Well, it's this type of theatrical release and this type of box office reaching this many people in theaters. How do we do that? Okay, well, that way over here on the left is not the right way to do it. We got to go over here on the right with this type of a distributor.
What is the ideal result of these very early meetings with this distributor, and where are you in that? Do you see that happening?
Yeah. I've got now 2 different service provider type distributors that are very interested in doing the movie, because for them, for any distributor, they collect off of box office receipts. They're getting a percentage of box office. And if
Yeah.
they're not putting any money out, then it's pure profit for them, right? It's pure revenue. They're not recouping a cost that they put in. And so I've got 2 of those now, and I've got 4 distributors that are interested in the sense that they are currently looking at the materials of the movie. So they're reading the script over the holidays, looking at they're listening to the music, they're watching the recording of the previews that we did, so that they understand what the movie is. And then we can come back in a few weeks and say, all right, now you know what the movie is. What do you think? And my dream outcome is to have a big enough distributor that can put around $1 million worth of P&A into the opening weekend and have enough gunpowder, quote unquote, to expand if the numbers show that there's enough demand to expand strategically. And
Yeah.
so the last thing I want to do is open on 200 screens and then go to 1,000 when there's not any sign that like there's enough demand. But if
Yeah.
really we're looking at weeks 1 and 2 and saying, look, if we have $4,000 or $5,000 per screen average week 1, and it's a good hold week 2, meaning we still have 3,000 to 4,000 week 2, then we expand. But if we drop below $2,500 or $3,000 per screen average, the demand isn't there. So let's not keep spending. Let's just double down on not even double down. Let's just reinforce what we're already doing in the existing 200 or so theaters. And that'll be an okay run. We'll keep them there for 10, 12 weeks, and then we'll do the rest of our strategy with digital and all the VOD flavors and that stuff. Someone who can come in and go, yes, we want to do a platform release. We have the money to expand if we want to expand, and everybody's going to be happy with that decision. So
Okay.
that's the strategy for now.
Okay. All right. I'll be excited to follow your progress on that. And speaking openly, to follow the evolution of that. Because I think with each one of these projects, it's a problem that the problem has yet to fully materialize, right? Say, hey, here's the goal, and these are what we're anticipating. But as is the case with any independent film, we're going to run into a number of different issues that problem will start to become more clear as the movie gets made, and the distribution model might have to pivot accordingly.
Yeah. One last thing I'll share is that it's an even bigger vision than that of I'm coming into the conversation with the context of Producer Fund 1, not just this movie. So I'm telling them, look, I'm establishing myself as a supplier to the marketplace of these types of films. They're in this budget range. We're really disciplined on the budget side. They're right down the middle of a genre, and they're family friendly and values based, right? So coming to them saying, I'm going to do 3 of these a year. And this is a test, both for me and for the distributor. Like, we need to have a good outcome. You want me to provide a good outcome for you, and vice versa. But if it works, I got 3 more every year. coming.
Yeah.
And I'm looking towards a long-term partnership, whether it be in the form of a negative pickup or an output deal. It doesn't really matter. I just want to know that I've got a distributor who gets it and is aligned with the strategy. And we want to go out and make really profitable films that reach a lot of people. So
Yeah.
if we can do that consistently, then everybody's happy.
I think one of the things that you can do that to help ensure that is just make sure that all your ducks are in the row, right? Distribution is more than just giving the film over to somebody, but like having all the paperwork, all the licenses, just being organized and orderly. And I think a distributor, it's unfortunately it's not as much about the film as it is about the really like the deliverables and how easy are you going to make their job. If they've
Yes.
got to chase paper for you for a year, from you for a year, then you'll only do one film with them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's very true. There's a Zig Ziglar quote that I love. He says, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want. And I love the framing of that because it makes you think of, well, what's in it for them? What do they need in order to make this an easy yes? And so
Yeah.
the whole framing of the conversation is, how do I make this a really easy thing for a distributor to say yes to?
Yeah.
And we're getting there. We've got 4 people that are taking serious looks at our movie over the holidays. And to me, that's a win in and of itself. Like having 4 serious conversations before the holiday. I had 6, but 4 of them are looking. It's okay. There's a good chance that one of them says yes, whether it's the one I really want or not. I don't know.
Sure.
But you can always, there's still more time after that too. I could keep chasing other people and those things, but man, it'd be really cool to have a distributor lined up in January or February for a September, October release, and everybody's in line with what the strategy is and how we're going to pull it off. So that's what we're working towards.
Okay. It's a fascinating approach, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it works out.
Yeah. I'm also like weirdly hesitant that we're going to get like hate mail from this episode of like, Darren, you just said that this is what you have to do now. And that's even harder than everything else I already have to do. I don't know.
Well, I'm not, this isn't supposed to be a debate episode,
Right.
but there are different approaches. Like if I put my distributor hat on, then that would be we'd be having a very different conversation.
Yeah.
We say, that's great, Darren, that you want to do all this. But if you're saying you're not going to deliver me a film until August and you want it in theaters in September, October, then that's definitely a hard no. I don't care how good the film is. That's a hard no. I can't, you got to give me some of that. So again, the problem, I don't think the problem has invented itself all the way, has shown itself yet.
Yeah.
So, but
it'll be fun to figure out.
Yeah. I think the principle is the same.
Yeah.
That you're starting with the end in mind. The marketing begins before production. Distribution conversations need to happen very early. And any independent filmmaker, in order to avoid having a $1 million budget and a $300,000 asset, you should really take a look at what we're doing here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is going to be the hardest one, right? Like, it's the most amount of faith the distributor is going to need to put in me and what I'm doing in the movie. It's the earliest that we're going to have these conversations, without the requisite like results to kind of back up the strategy. And so, yeah, everything about it's going to be hard, but if you don't do the hard thing, then you don't get the outcomes from like what those conversations or those asks could lead to. And so I think part of my job as a producer is to do those hard things and to try, because no one else is going to. It's not like there's no one else on the team that's going to start making cold calls to distributors on behalf of the movie. It's me. So if I don't do it, it doesn't happen. Okay, I got to do it. So I'll go do it.
Okay, man. I love it. That's the producer mindset. So way to go. Good conversation. I know that you mentioned we've got out time. And that's probably the way it's going to operate for a while, with you being so busy on all of your wonderful projects. And congratulations. I'm excited to see them moving forward.
Thanks, man. Always a good chat. I'm curious for the response for this one. So leave a comment wherever you're listening to or watching this episode, or hit us with an email and let us know what you think, because we can always do follow-up episodes if there's questions, but I'm curious how this lands with our audience.
I'll send you my list.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Okay, man.
Okay, thanks.
Great,
Take care.
great chatting with you. This season of Truly Independent is supported by the Help Them See Foundation. Help Them See is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting feature films that inspire faith, hope, and connection. By partnering with filmmakers, the Help Them See Foundation brings meaningful stories to life and shares them with audiences worldwide, making a lasting cultural impact through the power of cinema. Learn more and discover how you can be part of the movement by visiting helpthemseefoundation.org. Thanks for joining us. If you are enjoying Truly Independent, please share and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the journey. Today's episode was edited by Michael Bradford and produced by 3 Coin Productions.